Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me again this week, I have the now not so spooky Kirk, I guess, now that Halloween's over.
Yes, it is over. Sad. Well, actually, yeah. Yesterday, I had to look at the date to remind myself that we're now in November.
We are, as hard as that is to believe, we are in November. I cannot believe that it's flying as quickly as it is this year, but here we are. And with that in mind, we will be talking about some upcoming games for the month of November that are on the horizon. Bit of a pun there, I guess. When we get to it, you'll know what that means. Also, we're going to celebrate Mario because there's just been a lot of Mario love recently with new games as well as some classic anniversaries. But we'd like to kick things off with some news of the week, and it was looking like a slow week until kind of the end, the end of the week when a few crazy kind of announcements happened. And I know you're particularly interested in at least one of these, which is the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles X has been announced for the Switch. It's releasing in March the 20th, to be precise, 2025. What do you think of this? Because I think this is your jam.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what. After I played this one again, I played the game on the Wii U,
Hmm.
and loved it. It's actually my least favorite of the series, but
Yes.
that doesn't mean I don't love it. Um,
Yeah.
I expected this to be like maybe a the Switch successor release.
Hmm.
And the fact that Nintendo kind of just shadow dropped it indicates to me, first of all, that there's not a direct coming up anytime soon. I'm assuming this
Hmm.
would have been part of that, right?
Definitely. Yes. Good point.
Um, but they obviously wanted to get this out there, and I was absolutely thrilled when I first found out. Sam, my son, sent me a text that just said Xenoblade Chronicles X. I was like, "Well, what about it?" He said, "Well, look it up, Dad."
Mystery text, yeah, making you do the
Yeah.
work. That's funny. Why is it not your favorite? Can I ask?
Well, I think to answer that, we should first talk a bit about the premise of this one.
Hmm.
This one is kind of separate from the other games. I mean, when it came out, the only other game that had been released in the series was the original. This came out before Xenoblade Chronicles 2, then obviously before 3. And it's kind of disconnected. This one actually is the only one it's the only one that involves Earthlings.
Okay. Hmm.
The premise for this one is that Earth is dying out or being destroyed, and they all get on this ship called the USS White Whale, which is kind of foreshadowing, I suppose, because we know what happened at the end of Moby Dick to our white whale.
Hmm.
The ship crash lands on a planet called Mira, which is habitable but hostile. So the
Hmm.
whole game is the survivors of this ship basically settling on this planet, rebuilding, and trying to. There's a whole backstory about things that were lost. They need to go out and recover. They have a certain amount of time, but to do it, basically before they won't have any time left and won't be able to survive. It's kind of hard to explain, and the further you get into the game, the more
Yes.
complicated it gets. It's very much Japanese sci-fi that just um, goes in directions you can't even fathom when you first start playing it.
Okay.
Um, Now that doesn't mean it's not like a Pikmin kind of thing where you have to do stuff within a
Hmm.
certain amount of time or it doesn't happen. It's all story driven.
Yeah.
Um, the reasons why it's not my favorite. One other interesting thing about this one too is it's also the only Xenoblade Chronicles game where you customize your character.
Right.
Uh,
Yes.
so you can choose male, female, go through the whole, it doesn't give you a whole lot. Maybe there'll be more. It doesn't give you a whole lot of customization options. But of
Mm.
course, the main thing about that is your character then doesn't really have any dialogue throughout. The story is driven by the people
Uh,
around you, and you're kind of just observing and
hmm.
participating. You're obviously, central to everything, but you're not a story character so much.
Hmm.
Um,
That makes sense. Yeah. Do we
but the
know? Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, no, no, please continue.
Oh no, I was probably just going to stammer on. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just about to ask, do we know what, because this is like a revamped edition, right? Is there a subtitle? Is it Xenoblade Chronicles X, Deluxe or something like that? Do we know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitive edition.
Definitive
Definitive
edition.
edition.
That's
Sure.
right. Yes. And apart from graphics, do we know of any other improvements, or it's just kind of enhanced visually, we think at this point?
They would have to bring the same quality of life enhancements that they did in the original Xenoblade Chronicles.
Hmm.
This is, since the game focuses so much on discovering this planet and kind of settling it. There was a really cool mechanic on the Wii U where you had this device where you were like planting sensors, I believe, and having them communicate to each other, and you could do that on the gamepad while you were doing other things on the screen or like tracking it and pulling up different displays. So they're going to have to figure out a way to combine those into one screen. Uh, but that whole process was really complicated in the game.
Hmm.
Just moving around and navigating and figuring out where you could go, because one of the other mechanics is mech. This is a very heavily mech driven game. You can build what they called skells, which are like robot suits, really like Gundam kind of things.
Hmm.
They at one point they get the ability to fly, so like later in the game you can like lift up and fly to get somewhere, which makes that easy. But getting there earlier, sometimes you don't even like, you see things you think you can get to but you cannot. So you end up spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to get from here to there. I assuming that like they did in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, they're going to add like kind of like a tracking thing where it shows you the path on how to get to where you need
Mm.
to be. That kind of thing, I imagine is going to be part of it. I hope they also do a little bit more with the side quests. The quests in this game are kind of like mission driven. You kind of go to this bulletin board, most of them, not all of them, and you're able to accept jobs,
Mm.
and that's where the meat of the gameplay comes in. The story is actually pretty sparse. It's not like these big sprawling adventures with these heavy plot twists. I mean, you get some, but for the most part, the bulk of the game is just doing all these quests, and then occasionally, after a while, you get a story quest that pushes things forward.
Right.
But hopefully they do a better job of getting those out. Like it's easier to meet the requirements to open up certain jobs. They kind of identify that better to guide people along. I don't know. I mean, I finished the game when I played it. I have no idea if I got all the quests,
Right.
if I got access to them. I know there were some I didn't complete. There's one. Oh, and when I was talking to Sam about playing this game again, the first thing he did was ask me about the lobsters.
Okay.
There's a quest where these like, I swear it's up to like 70, maybe 71, 72 stuffed lobsters just scattered around the city. The most of the thing takes place in New Los Angeles. I think it's
Right.
New Los Angeles,
Hmm.
which is the city that's being built up, and you have to find all these. And I spent all the time to find all these lobsters, only to find out that there's a boss battle at the end of it to complete the quest, and I could not beat that boss at all. I couldn't even come
Right.
close, and eventually just bailed.
Oh,
So
wow.
maybe this time I'll either master the battle system well enough to beat it, level up high enough to beat it, or hopefully they'll just give me one of those. You don't like look like you're doing well. Do you want us to lower the difficulty? Beat it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Is the boss in any way related to a lobster?
I can't even remember. I want to say yes. I want to say there's. I mean, it's you're not like fighting a giant lobster, but I think that it's tied in somehow if recollection serves.
Wow, that sounds interesting. I haven't played this one myself. I missed this one. So yeah, it sounds intriguing. I guess this explains why it's called X and not, 2, 3, 4, whatever. It wasn't
Yeah,
numerical in the sequence of things because it is a different, yeah, location and storyline, I guess. So very interesting,
yeah,
but
yeah.
exciting. So, and hopefully because it's a Wii U title, obviously, well, not obviously, but a lot of Wii U titles were missed because the Wii U flopped, as we know, and Nintendo's ported a lot of them already, right? And is this the final big one that we were missing? Like, is that what we're thinking now?
You mean of all Wii U titles?
Well, I mean, of the Nintendo, the sort of first
Yeah.
party types, like there's a whole raft of excellent content that was on the Wii U that was missed
Yeah.
because it didn't do well. And they've brought a lot of them, excuse me, from Mario Kart 8 to, well, now to Xenoblade Chronicles X. There's just a whole lot of great content that they've managed to squeeze extra life out of just because I guess it didn't get as much of a chance the first time around
Yeah.
because the Wii U was kind of shut down so quickly. But yeah, it's interesting. I guess a lot of people thought like you that it would be the Switch 2, like the Switch successor, would see something like this. I mean, when was Xenoblade Chronicles 3? That was last year, was it?
I think it
20
was
or
2 years
22?
ago.
22,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So it's been a while between adventures. So it's nice for fans, I think. And yeah, what year was the original Wii U version of this? Must have been well over 8 years ago, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't. Was this towards the end? This was. I can't remember where in the life cycle of the Wii U this one came out. I
Yeah.
think
Well,
it
the
was
Wii,
towards the end.
yeah, I think the Wii U, from memory, did it come out 2013, and then the Switch was 2017. So it was a very short cycle there anyway, but it might have been, yeah, 2015 or 16, I guess. Anyway, very interesting. We're excited for that. So March the 20th, 2025, very close to my birthday as well. And this maybe gives us an indication also of that Switch successor timeline, given that this is, well, we have a few games that we know are coming out early in the new year or this kind of first quarter. So fits into their little schedule of telling us about it sometime before the
Yeah.
end of March. So we'll see.
I think a game this big, judging from how successful the last couple Xenoblade Chronicle games on the Switch were, eh,
Mm.
we'd at least now be looking, I think, at the back half of the year for the Switch
Mm.
successor. I can't imagine they would release this in March and then turn around in April or May, give everybody a whole new system, because that would
Mm.
eat into the sales for this. I think this is meant to be one of those games where get this and you're going to have at least a few months to complete it while you're waiting for the next big thing to come along.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's pretty likely also. One of the other big announcements during the week, and in fact, it was another shadow drop in a way, was that Nintendo released a new mobile or a smart device, I guess, app. It's not just for phones, I suppose, but it is a music app. It's called Nintendo Music, and this kind of blew me away because it just came out of literally nowhere, as far as I'm concerned. Did you did you have any inkling that this was a thing that Nintendo was planning to do?
I didn't. I thought that this was, when I looked at this on the item, I didn't even realize that we were going to be talking about an app. I thought that they had just made the music available to Switch Online subscribers,
Kind
and
of.
you
I
could.
mean, it
Is
is.
that so? So it's within that. It's not like, say, on a
Mm.
mobile app where you can launch it and listen to music.
No, it is a
Or
mobile app. So I've
okay, so
downloaded
it's
it.
both.
Yeah, it's both. I thought at first that it was only for the US based customers because the press release originally, I think it was because it was from Nintendo America. It was, and it wasn't available on the Australian, like I'm an Android user, so it wasn't available on the Google Play Store initially, but then it was so the next day. So I've downloaded it and tested it. It's a free app, but yes, you do need a Nintendo Switch online subscription to
Okay,
access it. So it's free, but not, you know what I mean? Like it's free, but also not free.
it's free if you're already paying.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So it's free for me. I'm already paying, so that's fine. I did download it. I did test it. I did have a little play around. It's nice. It's a little music app. It's like a little Nintendo version of Spotify, I guess, with Nintendo songs. I don't even know how to describe this. I think it's cute. I think there's not a lot in there at the moment. There is and there isn't. Like there is not anything Xenoblade related, at least not in my version. I don't know if the US has a different, amount of songs, for example. But Xenoblade is not in there, just as an example. But Pikmin is in there, but it's only Pikmin 1 and 4 from what I can see, not Pikmin 2 or 3. So that's interesting. There's several Zelda titles, there's several Mario titles. I thought I saw that there was a Fire Emblem entry in there, at least on the trailer, the official trailer from Nintendo of America. And I might even just search for it while I'm talking to you. But yes,
They
Fire
do
Emblem.
have a Fire
Yes.
Emblem, one of the Game Boy Fire Emblem games pictured
Yeah.
here. So I'm
Yes,
assuming that it's coming from
it is. It's the Blazing Blade.
that. Okay.
Yes. Why it's that one and not one of the more recent ones, but that's okay. Yeah, but as they said, there's more to be added, and that's very typical Nintendo as well. Like just with the Switch Online, and having Nintendo 64 games, for example, they keep adding to that collection, and so the same will happen for the songs. And I suppose it makes sense not to give you thousands and thousands and thousands of songs up front because maybe it's too much, or then you're not going to come back and revisit it. So maybe their kind of plan is to drop more tracks or more, soundtracks, which gets people to come back to it, I suppose, revisit it. Oh, look, they just dropped, you know, Fire Emblem Three Houses or whatever, Xenoblade Chronicles X. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you a soundtrack person? Because it's going to depend very much on the person. If you like listening to soundtracks, then it's great, right? Is that sort of like, would you be interested in that kind of thing?
It depends entirely on how they do it because my problem with listening to most music from video games is that they're generated to be loops because
Hmm.
they don't know how long it's going to take for you to do whatever needs to be done in the game.
Yeah.
So it can be anywhere from like a 30, 40 second to 2, 3 minute loop that to me is not satisfying to listen to because I don't
Hmm.
get a beginning. I don't get any sort of structure. I don't get an ending. I basically just get repetition over and over. And I don't like listening to music that way. Now, if it's a full piece of music that was written like the ending theme for a video game that's playing during the
Mm.
credits, absolutely. Or like like say the Zelda Symphony, where they took that. I'm sure they're not doing this here, but where they take the bits of the music and kind of repurpose it into a suite of music, then I love that too. I still listen to that CD frequently.
Mhm.
But no, if I'm just listening to like musical cues as they appeared in the video game, that would wear thin pretty quickly for me.
Yes. Yeah, that's a fair point. And I tend to agree. I'm not probably going to listen to it a whole lot, but there are some very nice tracks on there. I mean, even for example, the opening track of Pikmin 4 is quite lovely. And there's definitely lots of beautiful Legend of Zelda bass tracks. They probably are a bit of loop. Some of them will loop though. And there is an interesting feature that, unfortunately, I didn't test this because I didn't know it was there until after I'd already played around with it, and then I watched the trailer, which is a really weird way to do it. And the trailer said that you can extend some songs. I don't think it works for all of them. But to your point about the looping and the shortness of songs, because I did notice some songs are quite short because they're just meant for this thing happens, right?
Hmm.
You come across this like a Dandori battle, I suppose, in Pikmin 4 or a boss battle in another game. There's a set, 30, 40 seconds, whatever it might be, of music, and then I suppose in the game it loops. You can extend it in the app, so you can press extend, and I think you can get up to I think it was an hour, 30 minutes, an hour. I think there are a few different options, which is pretty crazy. And I don't know if that just means it loops literally for that long, or if it does something else to like AI makes it better or enhances it somehow. I don't know. Sorry, I haven't tested that,
That
but
would
it's
be a thing, wouldn't it? Like, yeah, I'm trying. I don't know what piece it would be. Like, let's say there's a loop in some video game where you're cutting grass, and you can put that on when you're mowing and just listen to it the
yes,
whole
yes,
time you're
yeah,
mowing the yard. I do see that they let you create playlists, and that makes it
yes.
more appealing to me because then I
Mhm.
can go through, find the complete songs that I want, and just set that up and play that, and
Yeah.
not have to like constantly shuffle through a bunch of tiny segments of music in order to
Mhm.
get to the stuff I want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the playlist feature is nice. They have created playlists for you if you wanted to use those as well, but you can make your own, which is I think perfect. That's why it does feel like a lighter version of Spotify just with Nintendo songs. Yeah, like I said, it's a cute idea. I think I can see it being nice as a background music to studying. Maybe I like listening to music while I work, but I don't
Hmm.
sometimes the work I'm doing it has to be a certain type of music, like orchestral, or just not featuring vocals or something like that. And I used to do that a lot when I studied as well in high school. I used to just listen to classical music because it just didn't interfere with my, you know, whatever I was working on, especially if it's like English or history. Do you know what I mean? Like with
Yeah.
words, I find that a bit
Yep.
um,
Easier to concentrate.
exactly. So I can see it being useful in those kind of situations, or maybe relaxing. Particularly if you're a fan of something like Animal Crossing, I think, because they've got like the oh god, I've forgotten mental blank. The dog's name, KK Slider.
Uh, yeah. Cake. Yeah.
Yeah. KK Slider's in there. So, those kinds of things are lovely. And I think if you have a real attachment to games, it's likely to bring goosebumps when you hear some of the songs. Like I can imagine some of the Mario Odyssey tracks, some of the Legend of Zelda tracks, some of those more epic kind of tracks will do something for people, and make them feel something, which is nice. Anyway, it's a thing. It's there. It's happened. It's out there. I'd love to know how many people have downloaded it and how many people continue to use it. But yeah, it's very interesting. Anything else to add to that before we move on?
Nope, I don't think
No.
so. I will. I'm sure I'll wait until one of my kids gets it. They'll probably
Yeah.
be more into it to me, and then I'll take a look at it and decide if it's something I want to. I assume it's all
Mm.
streaming, right? You're not downloading any of this
You
content to your
can
device.
do both as well.
Okay.
So it is streaming,
Oh,
but there is an option to download and play offline. So yeah, both options are
okay.
available. So yeah.
Can you use it to create ringtones?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. That would be interesting though. Can you do that with other? You couldn't do that with? Can you do that with Spotify? I've never tried, or
I
Apple
don't think
Music or
so.
any of
I,
those.
I know on Apple devices you used to be able to do it with iTunes,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know anymore. I just whatever's on my phone I use.
Yeah, yeah, me too. That would be kind of cool though. Imagine if your ringtone was like a Bowser boss battle or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hmm. I wonder if
Text
it'll connect
message. It could be
to.
the chest opening
Oh, that
cue
would be
from
nice.
Zelda.
That would be nice. Yes. I would like that. I wonder if it'll connect in any way to Alamo. Maybe
Oh,
not, but that would be cool. That's got a music side to it, right? Like it's plays music to wake you up or sounds and songs from games. So yeah, maybe they'll connect. Maybe it's not such a weird thing with Alamo coming
uh,
up. Yeah, don't know.
speaking of Alarmo, did you get yours yet?
Not yet. I think it's due to come out mid-November from memory, what the website said. So there were round two emails that went out, speaking of Alamo as well. I saw online during the week, in Australia at least. So you know how in Australia we had to we had to pre-register our interest, and then the
Yes,
email, yes. And my friend very kindly let me use his email because he got one and I
Peter.
didn't. Peter, yes, thank you, Pete. And round two apparently went during the week. I also now did not get an email for round two. So if I did, I would have given it to Pete because he missed out. But I didn't get I didn't get it. Was not among the chosen. So
Ours already arrived. I didn't think
oh
they were going
wow.
to ship until mid-November, but yeah, it's
Cool.
it's it's now up with the other Christmas gifts for the kids. So I haven't seen it. I
Oh,
just saw the
exciting.
shipping box and then up it went. So I won't be able to comment on it until after
Yeah. Okay.
after December 25th. But
Yeah, that's cool. Well, yes, I'll get mine hopefully in the next 2 weeks. So I'll let you know when that happens. Our third piece of news for the week is a new physical NES game called Graveyard Dude. Um, was announced or is released. I don't know much about this one. Sorry. What's the deal with this one, Kirk?
it's available now.
Hmm.
It comes from Megacat Studios,
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did that one
and
that I reviewed recently, The Meeting.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. And yeah, in fact, it was after that review that they reached out to let us know about this. Yeah, it's an actual physical homebrew. It's $60 available at their website, megacatstudios.com.
Cool.
Only 200 copies are being made available. And so that's why I'm bringing this up now, because if you are a collector, and keep in mind, this isn't like an official NES game, Nintendo hasn't sanctioned it, it's homebrew.
Hmm.
Um, but it is available and you can get it now. The interesting thing about it, and I should say the sad thing about it, is that all the money that's raised from selling this game, all the proceeds, of the game are going to the family of the developer of the game, who passed away recently, Rainy Timekey Baker,
Oh,
who was pretty well known, from what I understand, in the homebrew community. They're releasing this in her honor. So
wow. Oh, well, I mean, excuse me, that is a nice homage to the developer then.
yes,
But yeah, posthumously releasing it physically, I think that's actually that's sad, but obviously a really good tribute to
yep.
yeah.
And it looks like a fun game too. The premise is that you are a knight who's in charge of keeping things under control at a graveyard, and you wake up um, at one time. I don't think you were supposed to be asleep, but you wake up and find that things have gotten out of control, and the dead are have come back to life, and it's up to you to kind of close things off and get the coffins back where they go. It's a cleanup game,
Hmm.
as most games were back then. Almost all video games at one point were about cleaning up something, either dots or asteroids or alien invaders.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're cleaning the screen.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's got very much a classic NES feel, and I think fans of those who still have a system and are looking for something to play, there's your opportunity. Pick it up.
Cool. And I love the name. It's just very simple and catchy. Graveyard
Yeah,
Dude.
it's,
Like, I won't forget that. That's cool. That's
yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and if
Awesome.
I saw a knight walking around a graveyard pushing coffins to fill in holes, that's exactly what I refer to him as. Is she graveyard dude out there getting the work
Yes.
done last night?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's good. I mean, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think that's lovely. If you, yeah, if you're interested, head on over to Megacat Studios, I suppose, the website, and they can pick up a copy.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Now I wanted to highlight Mario this week, just because he's sort of everywhere lately, and by that I mean Super Mario Party Jamboree has come out recently. We've got Mario and Luigi Brothership to look forward to this week. And we also celebrated a couple of anniversaries in the also the end half of October. We didn't really get to talk about them because we were doing Halloween stuff, but I did want to acknowledge that Mario Wonder, Super Mario Brothers Wonder for the Nintendo Switch did come out a year ago on October the 20th, 2023, and that was a lovely game and very different style when it comes to Mario's platforming abilities. So I did go and revisit this during the week just to I hadn't played it for quite a few months, and I am a huge Mario fan. I love my platforming as well, so Mario's definitely my jam. And it just reminded me of how imaginative and colorful and fun this game is, and the fact that you can play as Daisy is also very cool. I did play as Mario though because I had played as Daisy previously. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to give Mario some love today. I'm just going to play as Mario. I started from the beginning and just worked my way through and did as much as I could within, whatever number of hours I had dedicated to this challenge. But yes, it is a really fun game, and I am glad Nintendo is trying new things. I was thinking because a lot of people, it is different, and that can be jarring. But if you think about the history of Mario, from Mario Brothers 1 to 2, very different, to 3, very, very different again. We've got raccoon seats and all sorts. And the world map, Mario Brothers 4, Super Mario World, sorry, is for the Super Nintendo. Again, very different graphically. We introduced the cape, we introduced Yoshi, and then we headed into 3D when we're Super Mario 64. So Mario changes a lot over the course of his history, and I always wonder changes things up again. And I think it's nice to keep things evolving. And I don't know if there'll be a Super Mario Brothers Wonder 2. I imagine the popularity of the game would determine that, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would. I expect there to be. I will say one of the things you're talking about, the changes in the Mario games, aside from the major leaps, like where we went from
Hmm.
2D to 3D. The thing I like about all the little things that they add to these games is that when you're playing it, you feel like it's always been there.
This is true.
Everything they put in, whether it's like the raccoon suit or Tanuki or any of the hat,
Hmm.
it's feels so perfectly Mario that it just seems like it's always been a part of the series. And I can't think of a single other franchise that does that as well.
It's an excellent point. Yeah, I really do like that. And some things are staple, items like the fire flower is even in Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and it was in the very first Super Mario Brothers game. So you can still shoot fireballs as Fire Mario. That's a consistent approach. But yeah, I mean, even what did we have in the new one? We had the Elephant Mario and the tunneling Mario. Um, did they feel like that to you in Super Mario Bros. Wonder?
I don't know
As
if I
in,
played enough of the well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the the elephant one was so huge, that one maybe
yeah.
not. That one that one seemed a little odd. Fun, but yeah, a little out of place. Otherwise, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Mm. I think the elephant suit, I like it. It's fun, and coming back to it and playing it again reminded me of how fun it is. Like you said, it's probably a bit. What I didn't like about it was that when you're fighting, say, Bowser Jr., if you have the elephant suit on, you kind of it's very easy to fight him and beat him just because you're a
Yeah.
giant and you can just whack him with your trunk really easily. So maybe they meant to do that to make it easier for some players, but then they also have the Yoshi character and the Nabbit character to make it easier to balance it. I don't know. My only qualm with Super Mario Brothers Wonder was that it wasn't hard enough for the likes of me, even though they did have some quite difficult levels. It was a little bit of
Yeah.
an easier journey,
Did you
but
collect everything? I found it was easy to get through, but some of the things, if you really wanted to 100% it, were
mm,
extremely difficult.
that is true. And no, I did not quite get all the badges. I think I'm still missing two, I think, maybe. And there was something else I wasn't quite finished with, which I need to go back and finish. Yeah. So the collectathon side of things, yeah, that definitely adds life to it and definitely is a challenge in itself. So yeah, for sure. But yeah, I noticed that a lot of games in the Mario verse tend to come out at the end of the year. I think it was Super Mario 3D World and Mario Galaxy even tended to come out this time of year, and Mario Odyssey came out on the 27th of October, so very close kind of time frame to Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Um, yeah, it seems to be a good time for Mario games. I don't know. I think Mario 64 might have been the exception that came out in, I think it was June or July or something like that. And Mario Odyssey is obviously a wonderful game that we reviewed back in the day and loved. And hopefully there's a sequel. I imagine they will be making a sequel to this for the Switch successor, but time will tell. And if it did launch in the second half of the year, like you said, of next year, a Switch successor could launch with a Mario game, like a Mario Odyssey type of game, potentially. Because it's been a good, 7 years now since we've had Mario Odyssey and any kind of 3D or new 3D Mario outing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
expect another Mario
yeah.
Odyssey.
Yes, me too. And I would love that. Definitely love that. But yeah, we've been playing Super Mario Party Jamboree recently, and I've been playing a lot more of that in the last 2 weeks and getting into the boards. I've tried most of them now, and had a lot more time with things like the Coupathlon and actually playing online with people, which is a lot harder than playing with the computers, the AI. I was 20th for a while. There's 20 players, so it gets 20 people together, pits them against each other in mini games. It's really fun and it's quite fast paced. And what I really love about Jamboree is that there's a lot to do because there's 5 or 6 boards or 7. I don't know how many boards there are. There's a bunch of boards, and that's Mario Party. That's what Mario Party's bread and butter is. But there's all of these new elements added, such as the Coupathlon, and the Bowser. Oh gosh, now I can't remember the name of the Bowser battle thing, whatever it's called. But that's also really fun. It's 8 players. I just wish you could play locally with people. I can't play with my kids. I have to play online or with AI, which is a little
Oh,
bit of
that's yeah,
yeah,
that's too bad.
yeah, it
Is
is.
it a screen thing? Like they just don't want to split the screen up into that many
Could
parts,
be,
or
yeah.
should you be able to see everybody on the screen at once?
Not e- Yeah, not in the Bowser one because I think is it Bowser Battalion, I think it might be called. So it's 8 players. You're kind of in I think there's 3 different layouts. It reminds me a little bit of battle mode in Mario Kart in a way. Just because it's different. Like in Mario Kart, you race and then you have battle mode. Mario Party, you have the boards, and then you have this battalion thing. So you have 5 rounds to beat Imposter Bowser, this giant purple version of Bowser. And there's 8 of you. You can work with AI or online, and you're kind of in this open area. It's finite in its space. It's I don't know how you describe distance in a game, but it's like 3 blocks if you wanted to call it a block of neighborhood, something like that. And you have to run around collecting bombs in crates. You have to destroy the crates, collect the bombs, bring them back to this cannon, which is at one end, and the cannon has to have 20 bombs in it, and then you can shoot it at Imposter Bowser. Once you've got 5 rounds to deplete his full energy. It takes maybe 5 or 6 of these bomb attacks. So in terms of the screen splitting, I guess because every one of the 8 people can run around and do their own thing and collect crates over here, or collect bombs over there, or collect coins over there, or whatever it might be. Someone's bringing bombs back to the cannon, someone's still collecting bombs. I suppose you're not in the same space, but yeah, you could definitely split the screen and maybe do it 4 ways, like a Mario Kart situation, and just have 4 people playing split screen style. I would like to see that. That sounds picky because it is really fun. But yeah, it would be nice to be able to play. 8 people is awesome, but maybe it's an online thing. Maybe you can't do 4 people locally and 4 online. But then you could do 4 people locally and 4 AIs, I guess, CPUs. Don't know. Don't
Yeah,
know.
if you can use AI characters, you think you'd be able to set it up so you can play it locally. Just
Yeah,
have 2 or 3 people even, and the rest being AI.
exactly. Yeah, but the boards are really fun. We've played through most of them now. Like I said, I think we're just missing 2 now that we've got to play through. But we've done the Roll-On Raceway, we've done the Wiggler Garden Party, whatever it's called. You can tell I'm really bad with names. There's the Goomba Lagoon that's really fun, and the mall, the shopping mall one is lovely. It's really cool as well, and I love that each one is very quite different with its theme, not just aesthetically, but also things happen differently in the game. Like the shopping one it puts an emphasis on shopping. There's lots of shops around. There's sales every 5 rounds, so things are discounted like half price, which means you can get a golden pipe for a lot cheaper, for example. It's really fun. It's really, really fun. So I definitely recommend Super Mario Party Jamboree. I think Trev is working on our review for the game.
Mm.
So look forward to seeing that one soon.
He
Hopefully
may
he's
be
enjoying
playing it right now.
Maybe, yes. I hope he's enjoying it as much as I am. But yes, and the other kind of Mario thing leads me to, I guess, the games that are coming out this month, which the first of which is Mario and Luigi Brothership, which is actually out this week. It seemed like this game was far off into the future for me, and now it's November the 7th coming out, and this episode airs on the 4th. So this Thursday it will be out in the wild, and it was only announced in the June Direct, so we've only had this on our radars for kind of 5-ish months. Are we excited for this one, Kirk?
Yeah, I think I'm going to get this one. I haven't played any of the other games in this series, but it's more in line with the type of thing that I enjoy. And you know that I'm a bigger fan of Luigi than the others.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
fact that he gets, I guess, not top billing, but duo billing
Yeah.
makes me happy. So yeah, I think I'll be checking this one out.
That's a great point. Yes. I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, I haven't played this one, obviously, but I have played others in the series that are very fun. They're quirky. They have RPG elements. So hopefully it is up your alley or down your alley. Is it up your alley? Up your alley.
Up your alley. Yeah.
Yes. Sounded funny when I said it. So November is looking to be a fairly packed month, apart from Mario and Luigi. We just wanted to highlight a few other games that are coming out before we move on to the games that we're playing. My Sims is coming out on the 19th of November, which is, I think it's a collection of 2 older titles from memory. Um, and it's, yeah, that sim-based approach, very cartoony. And if you're into Sims, that's going to be up your alley. As well as Dragon Quest 3, which is the HD 2D remake. That's coming out on the 14th of November. And then we have Lego Horizon Adventures also on the 14th of November. So 2 games competing for attention that day. I don't know that the audience for them is the same. Maybe not. Lego and Dragon Quest, probably quite different. And I think we've talked about these previously, so we won't go into too much detail, but just to put them on everyone's horizon, they are coming out. If you had to choose one of those 3, which would you choose? Do you think, Kirk?
um, I guess I'll preface by saying I don't know that I'm really interested in any of them.
Yeah.
Like the funny thing is, like I used to play The Sims. The My Sims is a little too kiddie for me, and I
Mm,
haven't played a straight up Sims game in a decade now. So
mm,
probably not that. I do like some Lego games. Generally, I like them more if, well, as you and I agree, if it's Lego City Undercover or anything along those
mm.
lines, I'm all over it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it would have to be like a tied to a franchise that I'm into, and I've never played Horizon, so
Mm,
I don't know that I would do that. I guess it would be Dragon Quest 3 because that's more my kind of game, but I have to. add that I was never a huge fan of the HD 2D look in the games,
Hmm.
and that's just waned more and more as they've released more games that look like that. So by this point, I'm pretty much done with it, and don't think I'm getting that too
Yep.
either.
Yeah, I tend to agree, honestly. I might lean a little bit more towards Lego Horizon Adventures because I do tend to like Lego games, but like you, I've not played Horizon ever. So it would be not, I mean, it's probably fine. I'm sure it's enjoyable regardless, just because it has that Lego element.
Yeah,
But if there were any kind of, nods, winks, whatever tie-ins, I wouldn't get them. So might be lost on me, the story a little bit. And Dragon Quest, I'm definitely interested in Dragon Quest overall. I've played some of the games, but like Dragon Quest 7, I think was the main one I played on the DS or 3DS. Was that a thing? Um, and I really enjoyed that one. Is this one? It's an HD 2D remake. Is it top down? Does that mean that kind of
not
isometric?
top down. Well, I can't say for sure. Usually the HD 2D is kind of like an isometric thing.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess if you consider that top down, I can let me pull up a screenshot here.
Yes.
Yeah, the only Dragon Quest game I played is 10. And
Mm-hmm.
that one was not, that was very much a modern sort of open world kind of thing. And
Hmm.
I really enjoyed that, but I just haven't had interest in Dragon Quest outside of that.
Yeah, it's such a big franchise as well. Like when I was in Japan, Dragon Quest is not quite as prevalent as say Pokemon, but it is there. There's a lot of Dragon Quest stuff I noticed around town. A lot of the little blob, the blue slime guys, whatever. Um, yeah, it's fairly popular over there in Japan. So not super surprised that this is a thing that's happening. A bit like you, I'm a little ambivalent towards the HD2D kind of feel. I prefer the classic. I like 16-bit. I just want my retro style graphics.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah, if you're going to give me like these little chibi characters who are just kind of like cute and colorful, I would rather see them in 16 bits than,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and they kind of are here. I mean, the HD
Mm,
2D thing is a marriage of, the old and the new.
hmm.
Um, but I think it looks better if it's just all old, if that's
Yeah.
the overall approach you're going to take towards the visuals.
Yes. It's like when you watch SpongeBob or The Simpsons, older episodes that were meant for the square TVs and they stretch it and it just looks
Yeah.
weird. I don't like it. Don't
Yeah.
stretch it.
I will say though, as I'm looking at the um, screenshots here now for the game. It it does look nice. I mean,
Mm,
it
mhm.
looked it honestly it looks better than the other HD 2D games I've played for one reason or another. So
Cool.
maybe I will have to take a look at this. I don't know.
Maybe the technology has improved, or maybe this team is just better at it or spent more time with it, or who knows? Maybe they
Yeah,
had better
or the
materials to work with.
source maybe just.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks more detailed. It doesn't look as chunky as a lot of the other
Mhm.
HD 2D games I played. So since we've got smaller pixels and it looks like there's more detail, it's easier for me to take in.
Cool. There you go. Well, you have our opinions, listeners. Let us know yours of the four big games this month. And we were talking about these three because we both already agreed Mario and Luigi is one to look out for. But which one are you interested in out of those? Let us know. Let's move on to the games that we are playing currently, and we have a nice healthy list that we hopefully have time for. I'll begin with sorry. I'll begin with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed, which did come out a couple of weeks ago, and I have got my review up on the website now. I just haven't had a chance to talk about it because Halloween, etc. We've had a busy few weeks. But I did want to briefly mention that this is a game that's out, and I have had some time with it. And I'm a huge TMNT fan, as I think you know, Kirk, and maybe listeners if they've heard various episodes in the past. I sort of grew up with the Turtles, big fan. Watched the cartoon series in the '90s. Even collected some comics along the way. Actually, enjoyed most of the movies. They're a bit hit and miss. Some of those, so especially the middle ones. We did have a new movie last year, which was animated, and that had a very different style. And it was kind of this kind of brushstroke, almost graffiti-like, very colorful style, very different. It's almost like blurred a little bit, like the edges aren't kind of definite. I found it quite jarring at first, like watching the trailers. I was like, no, this is not for me. I did end up watching the movie. I did end up enjoying the movie. It's quite good. It's quite fast paced. The characters are very well. developed, I think, which is really important. Is also quite funny. This game is a continuation of that movie. So it's same visual style, same characters, even the same voices, which is really nice. The voice actors all came back for this game. There is even, and I didn't mention this in my review, there is even an animated series on, I think it's Prime or Amazon Prime, um, also based on the or follow up to the movie. It's not based on the game. It's a different tangent to the game. But if you can't get enough of your titles based on this current iteration, check that out as well. The game itself, visually nice, audio great, character development also great. Gameplay not so good. It did let me down a little bit there. There's the one thing that really bothered me was the load screens. They are just way too long, and there's way too many of them, and it was so obvious. It really took me out of the moment. Like I am not the sort of person who plays with my phone while watching a movie or a show, for example, right? I like to be in the zone. I like to be in the moment and enjoy the thing that I'm doing. It's very hard to do two things at once because games are usually you have to be engaged, right? You have to you're button pressing, you're reading, whatever. I was on my phone during this game just because it was so long, like a good minute in between. I'm like, I've got time to do Wordle in between this. I've got time to check, Instagram, whatever. I'm sitting here, I feel like I'm wasting my time. So I'm on my phone looking at things to do while the game is loading. It was that long. So that was really disappointing. Very, very disappointing. And the gameplay itself, it's fine. It's a beat 'em up kind of style, but it's not the retro, side scrollers that we're used to. It's kind of this weird 3D hybrid. It's fine. It's actually fun and decent. It's just the cameras. These are always the issues with these things. The cameras are a bit buggy. You can't really control it, and it kind of puts you in a weird position sometimes where you can't see what's going on. You fall off edges, whatever. You can't make jumps. And it's a bit of a blurred motion situation where you kind of find yourself just button mashing a little bit. So it gets a bit repetitive in that sense as well. So yeah, while it has upticks or sorry, I give it sort of green ticks for the story, the voice work and the style, the visual style. Unfortunately, it did lose points in the gameplay and those awful loading screens. So yeah, that's my summary of Mutants Unleashed. I'd love to know if listeners have found the same situation. Those load
Is this
screens,
the
I
kind of
just
game where you're exploring the world that I'm assuming is what's taking so long to load, is because they got to generate, you know, a larger area, but then you kind of like get trapped in a fenced in area for the battles, or can you just fight anyone anywhere and then flee if you want to?
No, you can't really flee. It's not even an open world situation. It's more level based. So you go back to your kind of home base in between levels, like the sewers. Obviously, that's where the turtles live, and you can do some fun things in there. You can level up, and there's an RPG element to it. Um, so then there's a map that you visit, and you can pick little things, a bit like what you were saying with Xenoblade Chronicles X, I suppose. There's little missions you can take on, and there's a very not a bad day and night element to it. So, and there's also a timer element. So you kind of only have, say, 3 days to do this mission, and then it disappears. So you can choose your missions. The missions are just levels, though, really, where you more or less go forward. I say forward, but you know what I mean. You have progress in one direction, and you get to the end, and then you fight a boss, kind of thing. It's that. So you can't really explore left or right. It's pretty linear in that regard. Yeah. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the loading is between levels. The levels load and they're fine, but the levels aren't super long, so you're just always loading. You load this level, then you load this, cutscene, then you load the the base level, and then you load the map, and then you load the level. It's just loading all over the place. I'm just like, I'm over the loading. So please,
It's
please stop
fair.
the loading. And the other game I'm playing, which I haven't finished my review for this one yet, it just came out last week. I think it was October the 29th, I believe. Police Simulator Patrol Officers, and this one is, I guess it's a sim situation because you're playing the role of a police officer, and it's a game that's been around a few years on Steam. Just made its way to the Switch, which is kind of cool. There's not a lot of these types of games on the Switch, to be honest. And my son in particular, very interested in this. He loves, Law and Order, and I think if you do like Law and Order, like the concept, not the show, you get a kick out of this.
I hope the majority of our listeners do prefer
Yes,
Law and Order.
I yes. Me too. One can hope. But yeah, basically, you do play a rookie cop, and you go through the motions of um, ranking up. So you start off very as a rookie. You're giving parking tickets, and you know, searching people's, asking for people's IDs who look suspicious and things like that. You can then you eventually get a car and you get a gun and you can tase people and that sort of thing. And there's a really decent menu system. It's like one of those circle menus where you can choose your action, like whether it's ask for ID or present a ticket. You have to do reports. So if there's an accident, you take photos of the car from all different angles, and then it goes into a report, that sort of thing, and you earn more points depending on how well you prepare that report. So it's quite robust. It looks quite nice. It did have a lot of bugs initially. I've actually had this game for a little while now, and let the developers know that there was quite a few crashes earlier on in the kind of pre-release testing. Those have mostly been fixed now, which is really good because it did crash quite a lot. This is going back in September when we first were given access to this game. But yeah, it's fun, and if I think, like I said, if you are interested in that sort of thing, if you are that sort of person who likes Law and Order, you'll get a real kick out of it. There's a lot of people walking around. There's some decent voice work on display. The driving is quite fun. If you you can also crash into people as well, and that causes more chaos. There's a lot to do. It's a fictional world. It's not like set in New York or Chicago or anything like that. It's a fictional town that opens up. More areas open up as you progress, so there's more things to do as you progress, and then you get into even more kind of detective type of situations as you level up. So yeah, it's a fun time. I am writing up my review at the moment, so hopefully that will be published during the week. Probably not before this episode airs, but keep an eye out for that one.
I
Did you
have
have
a
a
question about this
question?
one too.
Yes.
Is it more about like these are the procedures that you would follow if you're a police officer, as opposed to we're creating like this little action game where you're also going to have to do some parkour and chase
Uh,
chase criminals into abandoned buildings and bust up drug dealers and stuff like that?
it's a bit of both. There's not a lot of busting up because you're kind of pretty law abiding, like you're doing it by the book. So there is that side of things where this is how a police officer should behave, and you can't you lose points if you ask for someone's ID without having a reason to, for example, or doing a drug search or whatever. But there are moments where you do have to chase people and then get them to sort of stop. So
All
there's a
right,
little
but
bit
you're
of
not you're just tasing people, I assume, right? There's
yes,
not good.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes, you're just tasing people. So yeah, it's not heavy on the action. It's more about the procedures. I would say it leans more into that side of things. Yeah, it's it's well balanced. It's a little frustrating when someone, initially because the confine, like you're confined to your area, which I suppose is how police work. Like you have a precinct, right? And then you're
Mhm.
chasing a suspect, and they go off into a different area, and you can't catch them. Then it's like that's my perp. I need to get them. That's a bit annoying. Yeah. But that's probably what happens in real life. I don't know. And then you can call for backup and stuff, I guess. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know they do have jurisdictions. Like there's a point
Yeah.
where they used to make that joke on Reno 911. I don't know if they had that show
I know of it. I don't
In
know that I've watched
Australia,
it.
but
Yeah.
yeah, there were numerous times where they'd be chasing the perp and he would cross into the other county and then would just turn around and mock them and they couldn't do anything about it. So
Is that
whether that's real, I don't know. But
yeah. Is that a comedy, that show, or not?
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. In
I'm
fact,
thinking
if
of
this were police simulator Reno 911 patrol officers, I'd be all over it.
is that like a precursor to Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something? Because I'm familiar with
No,
that one.
it was a different kind of thing. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
both comedies centered around a fictional police department, but
Mhm.
not the same type of comedy.
Okay. I am a fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for the
Okay,
record. Have not ever seen Reno. What even was it? Reno
Reno
9-1?
911. Yeah.
9-1. Oh, like the number. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yes. How old is that show? Should I check it out? Is it worth
Oh,
watching?
it was it late? It was in the 2000s or the teens.
Oh,
One of
okay.
those. Maybe it
Pretty
carried over a little
recent.
bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
4 or 5 seasons, and there was a movie. They made a movie.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of it. I don't know how I missed that one because I was right into Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that was the same time period. That started 2004 or 5 or something like that, I think. Maybe 6. I don't know. And it went for a good 7 or 8 years. So, yeah, interesting. Cool. Well, that's my story with Police Simulator Patrol Officers. What would you like to tell us about which games you're playing?
Well, I first want to point out that just last night I finally finished The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Yay! What'd you think?
Yep. Um, well, and actually, I'm glad you asked because that's why I brought it up. At the beginning of when we first started talking about this game, I said I probably was not going to like all of the echoes that you had to create in order to do things.
Hmm.
By the time I got to the end of that game, I was dropping those echoes so quickly and using them the way that they were supposed to be used that it in no way, shape, or form slowed me down or angered me in the
Mm-hmm.
process. There were some I never touched. I'd probably say at least 50% of those I never once used.
Yeah.
And some I probably used more often than I should have. There were probably faster ways to do things.
Yeah.
But I greatly enjoyed it, and I also want to say that I had so much fun with the last boss.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Yes.
won't
We
spoil
won't.
it for anybody
No
who's
spoilers.
hasn't played, but yeah, it was just great, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it.
Oh, that's good to hear. It
Yep.
is a beautiful game. I'm reviewing that one actually. I'm very behind.
Yep.
I've almost finished writing up my review. Hopefully that'll launch during the week as well. I'll be published during the week. Um, yeah, I love that. Yeah, the echoes. I felt the same way with the echoes. It feels a little daunting at first as you're collecting so many, but you just have your favorites and then you just end up using them repeatedly.
Yeah. Although
There's a
it was first, like there were some times when I would rack my brain trying to figure out how to get to a treasure chest or do something. And
mm,
then after I finally do it, and it's taken me forever, I'm going through my echoes and I see one. I'm like, you know what? It was right there. All I had to do was bust out, say, the spider again, and
yeah,
I could have just.
yeah. I do love
Although
the
I ended
spider.
up using the spider quite a bit. Yeah, that
Yeah.
he became key towards the end.
Oh yeah, he's very handy. I love the spider. What else is on your list for the week? What are you playing?
Another game that I've started playing over the past week is the Smurfs Dreams. Um,
Cool.
I I do this not as a fan of the Smurfs. I've never watched anything that has anything to do with the Smurfs. Um,
Nice.
but I
Never?
point out I've actually started the review already. I haven't completed it yet. There was a game now. One of the systems that came out in the 80s after the Atari, after the Intellivision, was the ColecoVision.
Hmm.
I'm not sure anyone remembers that. It was much more powerful than either of those two systems, and for a while was the really hot gaming system that died out quickly. Um, I had one friend who had it, and I cannot remember a single game he had other than there was this Smurfs game. I can't recall the full name of it right now, but I loved that game. And I have no idea why, because I wasn't into the Smurfs, but I just really enjoyed the game. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this. I'm going to play another Smurfs game. Um,
Nice.
and it's not bad. Like it's really it's developed by Microids. Um, it's kind of like you would expect from a 3D platformer, like the Mario games we were talking about, or
Hmm.
any other like all the SpongeBob games that have come out recently, where you're in the world of the cartoon and you're just going on these missions and collecting things and fighting people. Um, but it's well done. I mean, it's. I'm surprised by how not annoying it is.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's just a positive right there.
Yeah, I guess it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but I think anyone who's ever played a video game attached to a cartoon knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The action is sprightly. The puzzles are fun. They do a good job of giving you new items as you go along. So, like as you progress, it gets a little more interesting each time as you get the ability to say shoot. Now, not like guns or anything.
Mm.
It's not police simulator, Smurf simulator.
Yeah.
Um, but they just do a good job of pushing you through these levels that are very linear. You need to figure out how to get up here, how to get this out of the way, convince or not convince, trick this enemy sort of into opening up these gates for you. It's all that kind of thing. And it's engaging and enjoyable. So
That's cool. And I
yeah,
believe it's
it will
from the
be.
same publisher as Police Simulator as well, actually.
Uh,
Home Run PR. I believe they are responsible for both of those.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're yeah. How about that?
Yes. No, I know because when they were talking to me about Police Simulator, they mentioned Smurfs.
Yeah, that's actually it's been a joke not only amongst us, but I've seen this on some other websites talking about it. They really worked hard to get this game out, um,
Mm.
and into the hands of reviewers and influencers. And I get their point because I think if you see the Smurfs' dreams come across the wire, you're unless you're a fan of the Smurfs, of course, just kind of shoving it aside and looking to see what else is there. And
Mm.
I'm glad they
Mhm.
did because it's a game that I I'm not going to say if you're not a Smurfs fan to pick it up and it's going to completely win you over. And it
Yeah.
also is geared towards a younger audience. It's not like the Mario games where it can get really challenging. There are some tricky parts, but nothing that ever seems like really difficult or unfair.
Mm.
Um, but if you're a parent or your kids are into the Smurfs and you're looking for a game to play, this is one. And there is 2-player co-op, so you could do it together. This is a kind of game you will enjoy playing through with them.
That's cool. It does look nice. I have to admit, I watched the trailer quite a while ago because they'd sent it to me as part of the Police Simulator stuff, and I knew it was coming up, and I thought it does look good. I'm not really a Smurfs. I watched it as a kid, but then I don't know what happened. It's just not a thing that I'm really interested in anymore. But yeah, the game itself does look pretty good from the trailer.
Yeah.
And it can be deceiving, of course, but it does actually look decent, and it does look, Mario-esque in terms of the platforming. Um, yeah, so it's good to hear that it actually lives up to, I guess, the potential that it had there. So yeah,
Yep.
awesome.
And a good soundtrack too. I should highlight that the soundtrack is very nice.
Hmm. Brilliant. Excellent. Well, I'm very glad to hear that there's a positive experience in there for you. And is that out now or coming up? Can't remember the release date
It
of that one.
is out now, yes,
Okay.
October 24th. So it
Oh,
about a
cool.
week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Kirk. And did you want to close the loop on our initial discussion, which was
Yes.
Xenoblade Chronicles X? You've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Well, I'm about to start.
Okay. Yes.
And this is, once I know there's a new Xenoblade Chronicles game coming out, it's like I just get really excited for it, and I got to hop
Yes.
back in. But this is what I did when 3 came out. I replayed 2,
Hmm.
um, and I haven't replayed 3 yet. Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, I played like 3 times now, I think.
Mm.
Maybe more because I played it on the Wii. I played it on the new 3DS when it came out, and then I played it on the Switch.
Hmm.
But yeah, so now that I've got it in my head, I've got to go back and start my new game plus on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I never did because I knew eventually another game was going to be announced and that would be the time to do it. So I put it
Yes.
off. Now I'm going to hop in. It'll make me sad because I may have spent over 200 hours on that game.
Wow.
Um, and I'm not looking forward to spending 200 hours on a game I've already played. I'll enjoy it the whole time, but I'll feel bad because I'm pushing other games aside. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't
hopefully,
it?
yeah,
Mm.
I think the next big game that I'm going to be playing, as far as like JRPGs go along those lines, will probably be Trails Through Daybreak 2 when that comes out, I believe in February.
Hmm.
So I'd have to push as far into this as I can.
Yeah. Well, you've got
Still
the
allowing
holidays
for the
coming up, I
reviews.
guess. Hopefully, you've got some time, some downtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is tricky when, you've got obviously games to review as well. That's why I made the time to play Mario Wonder. Not that I spent 200 hours with that, of course, but during the week, I just wanted to revisit that so that I could talk about it because I do love that game. But it's
Yeah.
hard sometimes to find that. Um, yeah, to find the time to actually revisit something, and you feel like you do feel like it's a bit of a waste. Like I've played this, I could be playing something new, but also I kind of want to play this again. So I'm a bit
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, mm,
It's easy to do when it's a 30 or 40-hour game, but when it's, one of these that just takes forever,
yes, yeah,
it it can be kind of daunting.
Do you feel the same way about shows and movies? I always find, I have favorite movies that I like to watch, but also I don't have a lot of time to watch things at the moment. So it's like, is it a waste to watch something again? Or, I could be watching something new because I have a lot of things I haven't got around to watching yet, like especially TV shows, there's so many streaming services now and so much new content. What do you think about? Do you have the same or not really? You don't care?
There are some things that I could watch over and over and over again and never get
Mm.
tired of it. And usually that's movies. I won't start a whole TV show, especially if it's lasted any number of seasons. Most of the shows I like get canceled after the first season or second, or even after 4 episodes. So,
What?
sometimes. So I guess I'm not good at picking that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will every couple of years have a Godzilla marathon with my kids and
Mm.
sit through all however many movies there are. And
Yeah.
speaking of that, I have to
Mhm.
put this plug in too,
Yes.
because following up on the Xenoblade Chronicles X announcement that came earlier this week, Toho has announced they are making a sequel to Godzilla Minus One.
Oh, wow. That's
They just
exciting.
announced that today.
Oh,
So if
cool.
you
Yeah.
haven't seen that yet, Gemma,
Yes, that would be me. I need
they
to.
did re-release it to theaters in the US again this weekend. So I
Oh,
don't know if they
cool.
are in Australia, but look around.
Yeah, I didn't see it advertised, but I haven't been to the cinema this week, so I'll check. That's awesome. That's very cool. I'm not surprised because it seems to have been very popular. So yeah, that's really cool. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so and you probably don't want to give spoilers out, but given that it was set in, wasn't it post World War II, right?
Yes,
Does that mean
1944, 45.
is this? Do we know this if the sequel will be set in the same period or like World War
They
One?
haven't they haven't made an announcement. It does have the same gentleman who wrote it and directed the first one is
Hmm.
helming this one too.
Cool.
So I'm
That's good.
assuming it's going to be a direct sequel, but no idea. With Godzilla, they could make it happen 6 months after the first, or they could do it 2 decades later, and it would
Yeah.
still make
Yeah.
sense.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the one that's on my watch list. Every time I watch a movie I've seen before, I'm like, I really should be watching Godzilla Minus One. Yes, I will. I will. I promise. Well, thank you. We're probably at time here. So, anything else you wanted to add before we close things off?
I think I've gushed enough today.
No, it's been excellent talking about all things Nintendo with you. Thank you, listeners, for joining us this week. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We certainly love gushing about all things Nintendo and the tangents that come out of that. So thank you for listening to us. We'd love to know your thoughts. So please let us know if you've played any of the games that we've mentioned today, whether you're excited about Xenoblade Chronicles X, whether you've been revisiting Mario or having a good time with Jamboree or Echoes of Wisdom, along with things like TMNT and Police Simulator, as well as the Smurfs. We'd love to know what you're playing and what you're enjoying. So if you wanted to follow us, we are on social media. You can catch us over on Twitter/X as well as Blue Sky and Mastodon. We are beginning our next issue of the Pure Nintendo magazine. And if you would like to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo and we will get a physical copy mailed to you when it is ready in the coming weeks and months. Until then, though, thank you everybody and game on.